In order to make sure the public and the industry are protected, there are layers of regulatory review that you should be aware of as a registered representative. The SEC examines FINRA to make sure FINRA is meeting its obligations to protect the market and the public. FINRA examines your firm on a regular basis to make sure your firm is following FINRA's rules. Your firm ensures that your supervisor is complying with the firm's rules and procedures. And finally, your supervisor keeps track of the work you do to help ensure that you and your firm are meeting your regulatory obligations. Attention! Question 1. The SEC examines FINRA to make sure FINRA is meeting its obligations to protect the market and the public. True or false? Providing your firm with prior written notice of all outside business activities. An outside business activity is one that is outside the scope of your relationship with your firm for which you may receive compensation. This could include being an employee or officer of another company or starting your own business. Common examples include tax planning, accounting, real estate sales, mortgage brokering, or insurance sales. It can also include things like providing services as an independent contractor, working in a store, writing books, or making public appearances. Attention! Question 2. Working for other companies with compensation is doing outside business, but working for my own business or not. True or false? Getting your firm's approval before engaging in private securities transactions. Continued. A related area to outside business activities is private securities transactions, often called selling away. It is important to understand the differences between them. Private securities transactions cover any securities transactions that you engage in outside of the regular course of your employment with your firm. Private securities transactions can include new offerings of securities that are not registered with the SEC. If you participate in any private securities transaction, you need to provide your firm with written notice in advance that describes in detail the proposed transaction, your proposed role in the transaction, and whether you have or may receive any selling compensation in connection with the transaction. Attention! Question 3. I can report to company after I finished private securities transaction. True or false? Getting your firm's approval before engaging in private securities transactions. Continued. If there is a series of related transactions in which there is no selling compensation, you can simply provide one notice. If you are paid or might be paid for a private securities transaction, you must get pre-approval in writing from your firm before participating in the proposed transaction. Providing your firm with advance written notice alone is not enough. And this applies whether you are paid directly or indirectly because of the purchase or sale of a security. The payment could be for things like commissions, finder's fees, or securities or rights to acquire securities. It could also be for rights of participation in profits, tax benefits or dissolution proceeds, as a general partner or otherwise, or expense reimbursements. Attention! Question 4. If there is no selling compensation, I don't need to report to my company. True or false? If your firm allows you to participate, it will have to supervise your activities as if the transaction were executed on your firm's behalf. If your firm disapproves, then you cannot participate in the private securities transaction. If you are not getting paid, you still need to provide your firm with detailed notice of your proposed transaction before you engage in it. Your firm should promptly provide you with an acknowledgement that it received your notice and indicate whether there are any specific conditions imposed on your participation in the transaction under firm policy. Attention! Question 5. After I reported my participation on future private transaction, I will get an acknowledgement from my firm. True or false? Providing accurate customer information signing your customer's name is forgery and is a fraudulent activity that violates FINRA's rules. If a document or application requires a customer signature, the signature must come from, and only from, your customer. There may be times when you fill out paperwork on your customer's behalf. If you do so, you must only provide true, accurate and current information about your customer. It is a good practice to ensure that your customer approves the information you provide on his or her behalf. Attention! Question 6. I don't need to get approval from my customer if I fill out paperwork for him/her. True or false? Your firm is required to send updated customer account information to any customer whose investment objectives are changed for their review. Do not take the shortcut. Only fill out paperwork on your customer's behalf if your firm allows you to do so. And ensure that such information is accurate and meets with the customer's approval. Unauthorized changing of customer information, including investment objectives, will likely lead to disciplinary action by your firm and FINRA. Attention! Question 7. I can change customer information on behalf if I know him/her well. True or false? Notifying your firm about customer complaints and settlements. Your firm must report customer complaints it receives about its representatives to FINRA. So, if you receive a written complaint from a customer, you should notify your firm promptly and provide them with a copy as soon as possible so that your firm can appropriately handle the matter. Also, your firm is required to report to FINRA when there is an arbitration, claim or lawsuit against one of its brokers, and when any claim for damages has been resolved by a judgment, award or settlement exceeding $15,000. Attention! Question 8. I don't need to report to my company if I can settle my customer complaints by myself. True or false? Using your work email address for work-related emails. When you send an email to a customer, only use your firm's email system. An email or instant message sent to a single customer or prospect is considered correspondence. So, it must adhere to content standards, approval, filing and record-keeping requirements set by your firm and FINRA. Because firms are responsible for supervising all communications their registered representatives send, many firms have rules prohibiting registered representatives from using personal email for the firm's business. Attention! Question 9. I can use both personal and company's email to contact my customer. True or false? Using your If you are emailing about a private securities transaction, your firm may require you to communicate through the firm's email system so the firm is able to properly supervise your activities. If you inadvertently send an email to a customer using your own personal email, you can help ease the situation by sending an email to the customer as soon as possible on your company's email alerting the customer to your mistake. It's a good idea to copy your supervisor on this second email so that your supervisor is aware that an email was inadvertently sent to a customer on a personal email. This will allow your supervisor to become aware of the violation and give her the opportunity to deal with the situation. Attention! Question 10. If I inadvertently send an email to a customer using my own personal email, I can CC my supervisor to allow he/she becomes aware of my mistake. True or false? Your customers and firm's funds properly deceiving your customers or using their money or securities for your own purposes is considered a manipulative, deceptive or fraudulent scheme, and is expressly forbidden. It is a violation of FINRA rules to borrow or use your customer's funds without the customer's authorization. As a registered representative, you have an overriding responsibility to observe high standards of commercial honor and just and equitable principles of trade when you conduct your business. This means that you must behave honorably and follow commonly accepted trade practices when you work with your clients and when you are interacting with your firm. Attention! Question 11. I can use my client's money, but I need to pay back quickly. True or false? Handling your customers' and firm's funds properly. Continued. Taking money from your customer and using it for your own purposes is considered fraud or conversion, which is when you wrongfully convert your customer's money to your own. Similarly, if you use your firm's funds without approval for your own benefit, that also may be considered theft or conversion. Either one may be viewed as violating just and equitable principles of trade, and you may be disciplined for such conduct. Attention! Question 12. Using firm's funds without approval for a person's own benefit, that is considered theft or conversion. True or false? Funds should never go from the customer into a registered representative's bank account. Your firm needs to account for all funds received from its customers and demonstrate that they were promptly forwarded to the proper location. In most cases, that would be a bank account of your firm, or your firm's clearing broker if it is a fully disclosed introducing arrangement, so the customer's funds were available to make securities purchases. Attention! Question 13. Customer can transfer their fund to registered representative's bank account rather than firm's account. True or false? Obtaining written authorization to make trades for your customer as a registered representative, you are expected to deal fairly with your customers. It is implicit in your relationship to your customer and is one of your fundamental responsibilities when working with customers. Even if the transactions you make on your customer's behalf result in profits for them, you should not make trades without your customer's authorization. Every firm will have its own rules regarding what kind of documentation you need to gather in order to ensure that a trade was authorized. Attention! Question 14. If the transactions I made for my customers and result in profits, I don't need their authorization to trade. True or false? If obtaining written authorization to make trades for your customer, continued, making a trade in a customer's account without his or her prior approval is considered an unauthorized trade and may result in disciplinary action by your firm or FINRA. This does not include discretionary accounts, where a customer grants discretionary trading authority to his registered representative. However, if your customer gives you discretionary authority to trade in his or her account, you must receive written authorization from your customer and your firm must approve this agreement. Your firm will have to devote extra supervision to any of these accounts. Attention! Question 15. It is okay I got an oral authorization from my customer to trade. True or false? Managing conflicts of interest. Don't put yourself in a potentially compromising situation with your customer. Many firms do not allow registered representatives to ever borrow money from customers. FINRA rules allow a registered representative to borrow money from customers only in limited situations. Keep in mind that even if your firm allows a loan from a customer to a registered representative, such arrangements can cause conflicts of interest, and they can lead to a situation where a registered representative takes unfair advantage of a customer by inducing her to lend money in disregard of the customer's best interests, or by borrowing money from but not repaying the customer. Attention! Question 16. In some limited situations, registered representatives can borrow money from their customers. True or false? Managing conflicts of interest. Don't put yourself in a potentially compromising situation with your customer. Continued. So, both FINRA and your firm will err on the side of caution when reviewing loans between a customer and a RR. Assuming your firm allows it, you may be able to borrow money from a customer if the customer is the member of your immediate family, The customer is a financial institution or that regularly engages in the business of providing credit, financing. The customer is also a RAR of your firm. You have such a relationship with the customer that the loan would not have been solicited, offered or given if you and the customer did not have a relationship outside of the broker-customer relationship, or the lending arrangement is based on a business relationship outside of the broker-customer relationship. Attention! Question 17. I can borrow money from my customer if he/she is a registered representative in my firm. True or false? Managing conflicts of interest. Don't put yourself in a potentially compromising situation with your customer. Continued. Even if your relationship with the customer fits into one of these categories. However, if you have borrowed money from an immediate family member, your firm may not require you to receive pre-approval of the loan. Because every firm has different requirements, you need to check with your firm's policies to determine whether you can ever borrow money from a customer. Be sure to comply with your own firm's rules. Attention! Question 18. I can notice my firm and request the approval after I borrowed money. True or false? Using social media and public communications appropriately. Many registered representatives mistakenly believe that sending an email or instant message from home through a personal account or from a personal device such as a smartphone or tablet computer exempts the communication from their firm's supervision or industry regulations. In fact, whether sent from the office, home or elsewhere, email and instant messages that concern investments or a FINRA member firm's business fall under FINRA jurisdiction, and your firm is responsible for supervising your communications. Attention! Question 19. I can use my social media account to communicate with my customer without noticing my firm. True or false? Social media and public communications appropriately. Continued. A registered representative's blog and bulletin board postings are typically static communications and thus would need a principal at your firm to approve them prior to use. Your firm is responsible for supervising its registered representative's business-related activities, including participation in interactive forums. These rules apply regardless of whether you are in the office, at home, on a public computer, or using a personal device. Because of the difficulties of supervision and the potential liabilities from participating in these forums, many firms limit or prohibit participation in some online media. Attention! Question 20. If a registered representative his or her social media account in his or her own device, he/she doesn't need to report it to the supervisor or firm. True or false?